It is 5:02 p.m. on Monday, April 19th. It's April.
No.
Monday, I was just looking at the agenda that was sent out.
Oops.
On Monday,
Typo.
June 19th. Today is Juneteenth. It is a very important holiday. Commissioners Smith, O'Connell, Prevost, and Gedanken are present. Mike, I'm guessing that's you where it says Hardwick Electric Department?
I was talking
Yep.
there.
Okay. Mike O'Sullivan is here, as are Abraham Ames, Mick Letty, and Phil Woodward. Are there any modifications to the agenda? Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is approved. Next item is approval of the prior meeting minutes. This is our meeting from May 15th. Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Is there a
Second.
second? Is there any discussion?
Long ones.
Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Vince, are you opposed?
Oh, I'm abstaining because I wasn't at the meeting.
Oh, okay, that's fine. The minutes are approved, which takes us to Abraham Ames and this conservation project at Caspian Beach.
Hello, thank you, everyone. Let's see, do you all have the project proposal?
We do, and we're very pressed for time. So what I would suggest is that if people have questions, they can ask questions. And I have as a preliminary question, what exactly are you asking from Hardwick Electric Department?
This stage is stakeholder buy-in, so really just approval that you would be on board and allow us to implement the projects on your property.
Subject to the approval of all the different peoples.
Correct.
Select board.
You're actually
Right.
you're going to be submitting engineering plans, for example, for approval.
Right. Yes. At this stage, this is just for project buy-in. So really just want the next phase will be design. Really just wanting to know that we can go forward because that will be different funding source that we'll be applying for design.
I will tell you the concern that I have about the proposal from the standpoint of the electric department, because it is our property. But it says final size and location will be determined by the consensus of all stakeholders. There are a number of places in the proposal where it says that final decisions will be made by consensus of all the stakeholders. And if the electric department has a different view than the other stakeholders, I don't think we can agree to be bound by the consensus. I think
consensus might not be a good word there.
Yeah.
Unanimous,
Right.
how about just unanimous decision?
That would be a more appropriate language, yes. Unanimous consent approval. Yeah.
So if there isn't unanimous consent, it doesn't go forward?
Correct. Right. No, there are no, each stakeholder is important here, and we can't do anything without approval from each.
Where do you propose to get your funding from?
Different options. One of the reasons that we partnered with Northwoods is because they source their own funding for labor. So they said that if we weren't able to source funding otherwise, they could get most of the money together for implementation. So that's one option. The clean water service provider is another option. And there was another one because the the watershed is in the Lake Champlain Basin. The Lake Champlain Basin program may also have another program that we could source funds from. So essentially, there are three different options.
If you went with the Northwoods, you said they have their own construction company or something. I guess I'm a little bit concerned about things not being put out for public bid.
I see. Okay, that is a point. So with this project, we're managing the Lake and Watershed Action Plan as well. With this one, we did not go through that because the phosphorus reductions are not super significant. We're going forward with it because we thought it was a good public relations kind of opportunity. That's why Northwoods wanted to be involved also. So for this project, we were not going to put it out to bid. We're working with partners who are available. We already have 2 weeks worth of Northwoods time. And essentially they said that if they were going to work on a project, they wanted it to be this one. So really that's the reason why it's not going out to bid. And, the thought here was that by keeping it all in-house and working with people who have already partnered with us, that will ultimately keep costs down because then we don't need to manage multiple bidders or anything like that. We're working with the same people right from the ground up.
So they're doing pro bono work, or this is?
Well, so they're a nonprofit. So their funds are, I'm not exactly sure where they get them, but they have grants because they manage teenage crews to do conservation projects. So they have funds that they can source for their labor. Right. Essentially for this project, pro bono as far as we're concerned.
So the conservation district is the contracting entity.
Essentially, yeah. Yep.
Okay, so then going out to bid, if they're providing the labor at their cost through whatever mechanism they use, then it really, I mean, I don't think that would have the that wouldn't invoke the bid requirement.
Because they're doing it for free, and they have
Right.
also already partnered with us. And the partnership entailed a couple weeks worth of work, which they were going to pay for on Caspian. And really, we're going with them on this one because this is what they wanted to work on most of all on Caspian Lake.
And giving kids an awesome experience.
Right. More so because they're looking for opportunities to showcase their landscaping skills, I guess, and not the kids, the crew leaders. So they want to be able to showcase aesthetic landscaping and also the techniques that they're doing, which are biodynamic, aesthetic, look good, and also accomplish conservation, phosphorus reduction. And really, they like this one because it's so public. They don't have many opportunities to work on public properties with such high visibility. So they're looking at this as an education and public outreach opportunity as well. Which is also one of the reasons why the conservation district selected this. Like I said, the phosphorus reductions are not huge, but it's an opportunity to show the public the work that's being done on Caspian Lake, ways which landowners can do the same kind of things on their property, and really just show the involvement of all parties doing work to improve the quality of the lake.
But to your concern, Lynn, does it? I mean, if the contracting entity is the conservation district, and I mean, I don't think it needs to go out of bid to find somebody else to do it for nothing. Does that make sense?
Well, no one's going to bid less than nothing, so
Right.
but I'm concerned about, I don't know who this entity is. I mean, do they have insurance? What happens if someone gets hurt in the process?
Northwoods is a very well-established operation.
Has there been a study on the migratory effect on the geese of taking out this landing area?
There has not. However, all of these projects
much as
have.
I don't like stepping on geese poop, but
Well, actually, so geese deterrent was one of the reasons why we were putting in one of the practices. So no, that has not taken place. However, we have had the watershed manager sign off on all of the projects, and also because the funds that I'm sourcing right now are through the Department of Environment. It's through the DEC. There are requirements which they have for the projects to move forward, which they are satisfied with.
So that they
But
become,
has Fish and Wildlife been checked with?
I've not checked Fish and Wildlife. All of these projects would also require a permit, which would require going through and checking with them. Again, that would be part of the design phase because, you know, right now we don't even know if we can move forward with any of the projects. And we also don't know exactly what they'll look like. So once the designs are in place before we move on, permitting will be a part of it.
Okay. Mike, do you have any thoughts on this? You've been very quiet.
So I actually communicated with Abraham about eliminating a portion of the project, which involved the stone repairs we made. So the actual dam structure portions of the project that Abraham was looking to implement, I had him remove those. So beyond those, I think, you know, these would be good projects and only help the property. So the components that are left here that he's proposing, I think are good.
So, I mean, we're not actually approving anything at this point. You're not, I mean, we can't be approving anything because all that this is a concept at this point, if I understand correctly.
I'm looking for conceptual approval to move forward into the design phase, at which point I'll seek approval once again for the actual designs.
Does someone want to make a motion to that effect?
I move to grant conceptual approval for the project to go to the next phase of design and engineering.
Is that a
Second.
second, Mike?
second, oh,
Is there any further discussion? I would just say so long as it's clear that we are not actually approving the specifics of anything at this time. I'm fine with it. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Good luck.
Okay, thank you all. Take care.
You.
Aye.
Okay. So the next item on the agenda is the emails from Rachel Kane about Jackson Dam. Has everyone read those?
Yes,
want to do it.
I wasn't sure about the scrolls through the emails.
They want to do a study. Is the way I understand it. And they think they have.
The scrolls through the emails are just my highlighting, hey, this part you need to read, this part you need to read, that stuff.
Okay. Well, I read them either way.
I guess. Who's going to pay for this? I mean, my recollection is the last time there was discussion in town, which I think was reflected in one of Mike's emails, about Hardwick Lake and Jackson Dam. It was to leave the lake alone.
Yeah.
And that was pretty strongly held, and it's loon nesting area. And this looks like it's reopening that whole discussion.
Yeah.
Why do they want to have a study, Mike? I mean, it's not clear from Rachel's comments to me.
Yeah, so you know absolutely 100% the same that I do.
Okay.
This event happened and somebody was reaching out through the select board to see if there was interest, and I said I'll pass it on to my board. So that's what I'm doing.
Well, about a year ago, I think Rachel called me and asked, "Are we interested?" And I said no.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just as soon not even touch it, do nothing. But I guess there's nothing really inherently wrong with having a study done if it costs us nothing.
And then what?
Right, to study
I mean,
what?
we have enough things going on.
Well, this is the Hardwick Conservation Commission. For some reason, they're interested in the Hardwick Dam and in getting a grant to have a study done. I mean, what's their concern? We don't know.
Just for the heck of it. I mean, I just,
So in the first email of the string here, it says, quote, "They wanted to let us know that there is currently full funding for a feasibility study of Jackson Dam." But it doesn't
feasibility,
say
what, the
what-
dam
yeah,
is there.
I don't know. Yeah.
Right, so, yeah, so is there, I mean, are they talking, I mean,
We don't know.
has anyone mentioned a discovery of or some huge benefit to removing the dam, or this is just an exploratory review for outcomes and, like Mike said, feasibility?
know.
or-
Why,
Yeah,
why
okay.
do we, are we even interested in removing the dam?
We're not.
If it's not a problem, as a result of the dam, there is a lake that people use, that wildlife use, that, relatively rare species use. Why would the issue, I mean, there was an issue of ice, which I think the Corps has resolved. It gets broken up.
Why don't we just respond by saying we see no need?
Couldn't hear you, Nat.
I'm yelling. I don't know
There you
why.
go. Now you're good.
I think we can, we can just decide not to take any action.
Oh, for sure. But maybe we want to go a little further and say we see no need to look at anything. But anyway.
There's another approach you could use, which would be to ask what feasibility they're looking to assess. What is the objective of their study?
Yeah, I think that's the question to ask, because we don't know what they're asking for. I mean, a feasibility
that at
study is
least-
usually a study of something
Yeah.
And
specific. Is X feasible?
has anything motivated this other than there being funds available?
Okay, so I'll let her know that you all discussed it. You didn't take any action, but you would like more information about what specifically is being requested.
Well, I think it's okay.
No,
to
it's more than, they're requesting our approval. but
Well, this
what's
is saying,
the
this is a
purpose of
study.
their study?
They say this study is to look at all possibilities for the dam, do nothing, repair, remove, or retrofit.
Well, okay,
Why would we spend a nickel
why would we do
on a
that?
dam that doesn't make or break money for our ratepayers?
Yeah,
We wouldn't.
yeah, I'm back with Nat.
Yeah, I think this is opening up something that there was, my recollection, pretty resounding opposition to. There were a few people who wanted to take the dam down, and pretty much,
There were fireworks
Yes.
going off in opposition. Yeah.
yeah.
It says it may bring back the salmon fishery. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's the Snake River.
Mhm.
I think the consensus that I'm hearing, I don't think we need a motion. I think the consensus is that this is not something that we see a need for.
Right. We're not interested.
Okay, that's what you want me to say. That's what I'll let her know.
I wouldn't use the phrasing. that we're not
Understood,
interested.
understood.
Just say Nat said.
That's okay.
I'll bounce a couple sentences off you, Lynn, before I hit send.
Thank you. Which takes us to the next item, which I think is something that we want to do something about, which is Nichols Pond.
Green light for Mike to go ahead.
I actually heard about this the other day from Allison Link, who I'm not sure what her position is. She may be running Healthy Lamoille Valley. And I think that that Diana had been talking to her about this also. And I think there have been a number of places that there have been similar problems in the area, but
I was invited to a public meeting of the select board in Woodbury today, and that topic is the only agenda item. So I said, well, we're going to be discussing it too. I'll circle back and, we can compare notes, but I couldn't participate there tonight.
I guess one of the questions that I had in reading the email chain, I don't think the fact that we ask for it gets the what police agency patrols in Woodbury? Is that, they don't have a police department, I assume?
No, it's the county sheriff. And they
So
do
it's the
not.
it's the
Yeah.
Washington County Sheriff.
Yeah.
Then it seems to me that they're the ones who ought to be policing this.
I think part of the problem, Lynn, is that the road is actually not a town road. It's a right of way. And actually, Diana Peduzzi produced a document for me here last week, showing that in 1916, the town of Woodbury's select board met with the property owners along what was a town road that went down to our now dam. And the town threw that road up in this document, and there is no more town road. There's only a right of way that the property owners utilized to access their each of their needs on their properties, which would include us now to get down to the dam, etc. But there's no town road. So that's that's a new twist, that she dug up this document from somewhere that has really turned things upside down, because I don't know that the police are going to go down and police private property.
Oh, they will. The Hardwick police were up here the other day for reasons that they said they were on a regular patrol. In 20 years, I've never seen a police car up here.
Well, anyway, that's one of the things they're discussing tonight.
I have a question that I raised with Mike. I think it was a couple of weeks ago, Mike, when this came up, and that is that I know that some of the residents of the area, residents of Hardwick, do go and enjoy the lake. They don't do it at night, they do it during the day, and will park in the parking lot, so they have a place to leave the car, and often will bring a kayak or a stand-up, a paddle board or something. And so my question was simply, as we displace them, where do they go? Do they, practically speaking, do they still have access? Where would they park? How far away would it be? Are we taking, good, proper users and effectively denying them access because of one or more bad actors, which we still might have to do. But I think it's good to think about the repercussions for people who are getting a benefit from their access and aren't littering and aren't threatening and, are doing everything right and enjoying access. So what do you think, Mike? With the gate closed, where would someone like that park?
If we gated at the edge of our property, then every other place where you could park a vehicle back up to the first gate, actually the second gate into the property, is all private, people's driveway, where they park when they're at their camp, and it's all marked no parking, no parking. So the closest place you could park, if we gated our property, we wouldn't be denying access, we're just keeping the vehicles out, would be back at the first gate, which is probably 400 yards back towards the road. Yeah. It's quite a ways to carry stuff. Certainly somebody that's trying to carry a kayak, they better be in decent shape if they're going to carry it that far.
Yeah. People I were referring to were over 60, so.
Yeah.
But they're in good shape. I know who you're referring.
What are you saying? What are you saying, Roger?
I'm trying to envision, because I have not I think I drove down the road that goes by the pond once years and years ago, and I have not been over. And I pulled up on Google Maps trying to envision where we're talking about, but I'm having a very hard time.
If you find the dam on the north end of the lake, it's just a very small, what do you think, Mike? It's enough room for several cars, not more.
Yeah,
than
maybe
that.
5, 6 cars, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the end, at the north, this is not, okay.
It's right next to the dam, just on.
I think I'm on, I think it took me to the wrong pond. Hang on. Because it's showing Nichols Pond Dam in the middle of the lake, which clearly can't be.
The very north
I
end.
can attest that it's not in the middle of the pond.
And then it
East-
it's a different, it was Mud Pond that it was on. I have no idea why. Okay, so there's the dam road is the way it's labeled on here,
Probably, yeah.
but it's at the north end.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at this, I'm just trying to understand. So where is this van bin?
Right there, right in that 6-car parking area, right along the, there's kind of a stone barrier. And it's been parked right in the walkway where people go over to sit on the dam. They have bonfires out there, which is a problem. There's always garbage out there, which is a problem. The constant traffic on the dam is probably not serious, but it's certainly wear and tear on the dam, creates erosion where there's grass not growing from people walking.
So the source of the garbage, the refuse, it's just it's general use. It's not just from the people associated with the van.
Right. There's been garbage there for as long as I've been working at Hardwick Electric. Every summer I go down, pick it up every once in a while just to get rid of it.
So,
Mike,
so where would this gate be?
Kind of like about the width of the parking lot from east to west, Lynn. If you go back through the tree line about the same distance, that's the end of our property. So it'd be probably 75 to 100 yards from the dam itself back on the road.
North of the dam.
Kind of
East.
yeah.
So we wouldn't be blocking the road, we'd be blocking the parking area.
Correct.
Okay, so there's no fence there now.
Nope, it's all wide open.
And the parking area is the area to the east of the road. Okay, I see that.
East of the dam.
Mike, is there any reason to believe some of the homeowners along that 400 yards would not want us to put up a fence?
I think they would be doing cartwheels if we put up a fence.
But those 60-year-olds with the kayaks wouldn't like it.
Right.
So I know it's labor intensive, but there's any way we could restrict access so that 6 p.m. the gate is closed and 9 a.m. it's open? Which means somebody has to go down there, open and close it every day.
All right, that would be a
It'd
nightmare.
be a pain. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
it isn't
there-
5 minutes away. It's like 35 minutes. To
Yeah, I know. I've been down there. It's tough.
Is there any way to put a code on the gate? To put up a gate, put a code on it that if if somebody wants to go kayaking or whatever, or go swimming, I mean, because I know people who go swimming there as well, that they could have the code.
Yeah,
We would just, use it. We
that
give it
won't
out
work
at
very
discretion.
long.
There are
Brainstorming is great, and maybe that's a possibility. We've done that, Lynn. I did it with a code lock on the H11 project to get certain people in and out when we needed it. But I think that would lead to, well, why can't I have the code? You gave it to Sue or Bill,
and then everyone knows the code.
and then
Or do it with a key card. Do it with a key card. Where, if somebody wants to go, they go to the office and they get the key card, and then they have to bring the key card back. And if the thing has been left unlocked then they don't get the key card again. I'm just thinking
Just-
out loud, but
Just lock it.
And if you're worried about kayaks, there are kayak caddies that make it really easy to transport a kayak on wheels.
That's true. My wife has one of those.
but where, I guess, where would people park instead? I mean, if there's still,
Yeah, from the first gate on Nichols Pond Road, which is where you drove by the road, Lynn, there's a
Yeah.
gate up there. That one's open all summer. Then you come down, there's another gate, probably halfway down to the dam. And at that gate, there's space where you can park your car. There's two different pull-offs where you can park, and there's space along the road where you could also park. So 3 cars, probably 3 or 4 comfortably could park at the second gate.
okay, I
So
can't see.
that probably, that answers that
Yeah.
answers
Right
my
by,
question.
Lynn, if you're
Yeah.
looking at an overhead photo, you're gonna see a power line right away out there. That's Washington Electric's line. That's right about where that is where the gate, the second gate is.
I
It's
don't,
just-
I don't see any right of way, but that's okay.
Let's put up our gate.
And I have one more question, Mike. If a resident of Hardwick or the area is unhappy about it, they past practice says they'll call Opie. What's Opie gonna say?
Opie's
he-
gonna
is-
steer, he's gonna steer him to me.
Yeah, and basically say, we're happy to have you use it. You just need to walk because by allowing vehicles, we were having problems. And we
Right,
regret
nobody's-
that.
Nobody's gonna chase you out of there if you're down there having a good time. We just don't want vehicles.
Right, and it's not at night.
Right. And that's all posted already. There's signs
Yeah.
with hours of operation,
Yeah.
you know, closes at dusk, whatever, but a lot of people don't pay attention.
Those were my questions. I'm support. It's regrettable but understandable since we don't have a way to patrol it.
The other kind of sign that we, short of a no trespassing sign is no use without permission of owner.
No use.
The guy in the green van's not gonna care about that sign.
Yeah, no, they're not, but it again, it would give some base, I guess it doesn't
Some
matter.
cover.
So how much is a fence and a gate gonna cost us? Roughly.
Next to nothing because I'm gonna use a couple of anchor rods and an old guy wire.
Okay, so just be a cable gate.
Cable gate, yeah. And we'll put a big bright yellow guy guard on it so you see it.
No, not camouflage it. Make it
No,
white in the winter.
no, a friend of mine got knocked off a mini bike doing like 40 miles an hour, hit a chain across a trail one time. Yeah, I wouldn't do that to anybody.
Yeah. I hit barbed wire right across my chest and on the
Mm.
mountain bike.
Felt so good. You can't wait to do that again, right?
It was more a surprise than painful.
Okay. Well, I think we give it a try and see if that takes care of the problem. And see if people who are using the dam for recreational purposes don't get bent out of shape.
Okay.
We need to make a motion to give you,
I don't think we need a motion.
I'm good.
Okay, the next is, it says public comment, but I don't see any public here, but something on service upgrades.
Yeah, so I'll just crack this egg, but Roger, please chime in as necessary.
Will do.
So Roger had a customer who's also a friend run into some trouble with a developer, and the developer gave that customer some incorrect information. And That's been an ongoing problem that I've been unable to resolve with that developer. That's a different issue. But Roger and I discussed the matter, and Roger suggested that we do something on our website to provide information for customers who are trying to do solar projects or add loads, such as heat pumps or new car charger or whatever, because there's a lot of documents you got to fill out. There's standards you have to follow. There's approvals you have to get. There's fees you have to pay. If you're upgrading your service from Hardwick Electric, it can cost thousands of dollars. And finding that out in the 10th step of your process of doing your project isn't really the best. So we want to try, or we're going to try to put out an informational link for information for these processes to at least provide as much information and as much direction for customers to be successful in their efforts with whatever it is they're trying to do, so that we aren't the bad guy in the end when they find out, oh, Hardwick Electric now says I have to pay $2 to get my service upgraded. I'm not doing it. And that has happened a few times. So
yeah. No, I think it's a great idea.
And specifically what I was imagining, and Mike, I think can over time have it accommodate a range of different question areas. It's a little bit like what's happening at the time that's causing people to ask questions and be confused, because I think that's quite often what we encounter. The confusion is, what do I have to go to Hardwick Electric for? What do I have my installer, my electrician do? And I'll use as an example electric vehicle charging, because that's sort of the hot thing now. Even if people haven't bought their car yet, they wonder, well, could I charge my car at home? So if Mike could get something on the website that says Hardwick Electric does not install charging systems for electric vehicles. However, it's important to ensure that your electric service from Hardwick Electric can accommodate the charger that you're going to install with your choice of installers. For example, there are 3 levels of electric chargers: level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 Mike, tell me if I'm wrong. Level 1 can be installed at your home without a change to your Hardwick Electric service.
correct.
Level 2 requires minimum of 200 amp service to your home. And it's critical that you or your installer verify that you have 200 amp service before you proceed, because there will be a cost from Hardwick Electric to upgrade your service if you don't have 200 amp.
Well,
And if you need service, this is where we got into trouble. If you need a service upgrade, there is a form on the website of Hardwick Electric to fill out and a fee to pay. And the problem we've got is, I think we got at least one person in the community out there saying, gee, just to add, Hardwick Electric won't tell me if I can do an electric charger unless I pay $250. And that's not true. What's true is, if you don't have 200 amp service and you want a level 2 charger, then you've got to upgrade your service, and that requires. So just clarifying what we do, what we don't do, what you need, what you have to pay for.
And what you have to pay somebody else for. Because 200 amp service, it's not just what they're going to pay to Hardwick Electric. They're going to need an electrician who's going to upgrade their whole service box.
So what I've been thinking of, Roger, is a frequently asked questions Q&A. And that way, if we come up with another one, we just add it to the list.
Throw it in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Throw it in there.
So I have just a whole series of questions that this is prompting. One is that, first of all, they have to get an electrical permit if they have an installer, which means that it gets inspected by the state fire marshal.
No.
There's no inspection?
Residential is not under the jurisdiction of the fire marshal. There's no inspections required for residential electrical systems.
Okay, so but it raises another issue. I mean, you can have a full panel, and who's
Right.
you know, you can have 200 amps, then you need a secondary panel or a line side tap with a, you know, an overcurrent device.
Your
So,
electric,
but I mean, those kind of, but you end up getting into areas where you can end up limiting what people can do because they get stymied by specific guidance without an alternative. So I guess I'm saying in those Q&As, I mean, would you anticipate formatting them in a way that gives that level of detail, or basically say consult your installer for specifics regarding, you know,
X,
What
Y,
I
Z.
was encouraging, because I think Mike has educated us well, me included, was to be right up front with saying that Hardwick Electric does not install.
right?
What we do is we're responsible for is delivering adequate power to whatever your needs are to your home, and that may be a cost to you if you need to upgrade, but it'd be provided by Hardwick Electric at a cost to
For
you.
my own edification, if someone's putting in a level 2 charger and they don't have 200 amp service, they clearly have to upgrade it in the house. But do they have to upgrade what's coming to them from HED? It's still single
Sometimes.
phase service.
Yeah, it's single phase service, but if we have a 100 amp transformer and a 100 amp service feeding their
Okay.
home, they have to pay
Yeah.
to upgrade it. Yeah.
It could be not just the, you know, you could have a number 2 wire coming in, aluminum coming in, so you can't
Right.
bring it, and then you have to change the wire out.
So we had a customer probably 2 months ago now. He was all excited. He got his new electric vehicle, had some multi-ulti like extra expense charging capability battery in this thing. And he came in saying, "Oh, I just found out I need this level 3 battery charger. It has to be 480 volt, 3-phase." And he lives down in Calais somewhere. I'm like, well, the nearest 3-phase circuit is about 9 miles away, so I don't think you're going to want to do that. He was literally taking the truck back. I said, well, good luck. I don't know how that's going to go.
Hey, Mike, parallel to that, have we seen many heat pump conversions recently?
Not recently. We had a big wave of them there when the money first got, you know, the contributions through the tier 3 stuff was coming out. They were pretty hot to trot, but I haven't seen a lot of activity for them in probably 7 or 8 months.
And typically when someone does it, do they need an upgrade?
No, they're not a huge
No.
load. It's not like a battery charger. You know, I mean, they're normally replacing a heating system with that heating and cooling system. So it's kind of an even swap.
Yeah.
It's maybe a 30 amp service instead of a 660. I mean, not service, a breaker.
Circuit. Yeah.
So Mike, we've been both careful not to identify the individual who had the issue that got me involved, but I won't do that now. But I just want to make a point about what happened, because one of you might pick it up, especially Nat, you might, because it's in your neighborhood. The company is Suncommon, and Suncommon made a claim to the ratepayer saying that Hardwick Electric had just recently changed our requirement for putting in a Tesla Powerwall, and we had put in unreasonable requirements that significantly increased the cost and were unjustified. And as a result, Suncommon was refusing to put in any power walls in the Hardwick Electric service area. And so that prompted me to talk to Mike, and Mike told me, no, we just, we're following the service manual for Vermont. We don't make up our own rules. We follow rules that are adopted more widely. And we don't have the bandwidth to be writing the rules. We go by rules that someone like Green Mountain Power submits and are accepted. So I went back to the individual. The individual went to Suncommon and relayed that. And the Suncommon person had the audacity of replying in email with a drawing from the service manual and said, see, this is the proof. This is Hardwick Electric's unreasonable installation requirement, and that's why we don't do work in the Hardwick Electric service area. And the drawing was from the service manual.
The
The
state,
the
Vermont
GMP,
statewide
And
service standard.
GMP happened to be the
GMP.
off, and the
Yeah.
phone number on it, I called the phone number on it, and it was GMP who answered.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I just want you to know that there is trotting around town, at least Nat in your neighborhood, this perception, because I got an earful of Hardwick Electric. I saw the proof. You know, Hardwick Electric is not supportive of you know, I can't remember the exact words, but you know what I mean, going solar in some way, shape, or form, whether it's panels. And I went back, since it's a friend, I said, look, you know, there's times when you might have a beef with us and we want to hear about it and we'll remedy it if we're wrong. We're not wrong here. You're being lied to. And if you hear of something we're doing to not be supportive, give us the facts. I even said we're not providing incentives that other people of other utilities provide, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want you to be aware of that, because that's really a negative perception that's floating out there, that in this particular case with Sun Common is completely untrue. It's an individual who's just lying to our ratepayer and their customer.
Is this one salesperson from Sun Common, or is this a broader issue with them? Because if it is, that needs to be addressed.
yeah, the issue is, as I explained to Roger, Lynn, is historically for the last probably 4+ years, Sun Common typically hires the cheapest local electrician, or not even local, the cheapest electrician they can get for a job, and they call them their solar technician. So they may end up with a guy from Milton, Vermont, got the low bid on this job in Greensboro. He gets up there, he does what he thinks is right because he's an electrician, but he doesn't follow any of the service standards for a solar installation, which are different. For example, all the equipment, your disconnects, your breakers, your meters, all have to be within the same ground plane. So if they build a system with 2 different locations, guess what? They just spent thousands of dollars, and we're not going to energize it until they fix it. And then Sun Common tells the customer, oh, well, Hardwick Electric is the bad guy here because they're making us change this. No, you failed to install it the way it's supposed to be installed. And they've done that over and over and over. And it's primarily because they hire these guys who are gung-ho, they're young, they want the work, but they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, but lying about us when
That's interesting that you had that conversation, Roger. I've had multiple conversations. Sorry,
Vince, can I finish what I was saying?
I cut out. I couldn't hear anything. Sorry.
What I was saying is, I wonder if a letter to Sun Common's management is in order to inform them of this problem and to ask them to make sure that their people are adequately trained and are not providing misinformation about us.
I don't have a problem doing that. I will tell you that I've gone to, so I'll give you another example of the type of things that Sun Common does. So they have a young guy, he's working in the office, and he's out ramping up new business, and he's helping a customer that has a wind turbine, and they've added a big solar array on their barn, 2 different accounts, 2 different meters. And they wanted, which is the way net metering law requires it to be. You can't have a net metering system associated with 2 meters. That's not the way the law works. Unless you go through the process to become what's called a super group. Okay, you can do it, but you have to get special permission from the utility commission and whatever. So this guy starts telling me that they're going to do this and they're going to do that. And I'm like, nope, you can't do that. The law right here says 1 account, 1 meter. And I don't think it's my job to educate him of the process to go get a super group. And he took it all the way to the PUC, telling them how bad I was and everything. They finally told him, hey, It's not Hardwick Electric's job for you to do your process. Go do it. So those things have happened. Many of those have happened with some common as well.
So I've actually spoken with someone from Suncommon in the process installing the solar and storage system at the library. And, I'm not going to say who because this person's a friend, and there were some misconceptions. But to your point, Roger, because I was up there, people would come over and I'd talk, and they'd all almost without exception convey these misperceptions that, well, perhaps not necessarily Hardwick Electric didn't want solar or whatever it was. I'd say it has nothing to do with Hardwick Electric. These are state statutes. Hardwick Electric goes along with the state statutes. If you want to apply for it, go through the process, and under 15 kilowatts, it'll just be rubber stamp. So the point being, I guess, is it important to try and short circuit this what appeared to be some kind of general misperception, at least with my small sample size, or just deal with it ad hoc?
Well, it was the same. It was the same individual with that prompted the service upgrade question, and whether you had to pay the $250 and do the application in order to just find out if you could do a level 2 charger. And so that's what prompted the frequently asked questions on the website, because a fair amount of the swirling misinformation we can handle. I'm not sure we can handle, power wall installation requirement stuff, but if that becomes common, we could put it in there.
Yeah.
And so that seemed like a better approach, because it allowed us to start marking out on the website in black and white, how things work.
Right. And that
you're
was
not going to get charged $250 to find out if you have 200 amp service.
and
oh, sorry.
Because that's what they thought. That's what they thought.
And
But
the
I
idea
think-
that
I also shared with Roger, so being in a position for you all too, if you have a customer come to you and ask X or Y or Z, being able to say, oh, right here on the website, you'll find X or Y or Z answers.
Really good.
And that was exactly where we landed in the public meeting on the rate case with the PUC and the customers who came on the call. It was very comfortable and a strong position to be able to say, oh, click on our website, click on this tab, that's all explained right there. And the PUC's going, oh, good, that's good. So having that in this situation, I think is good too.
coherent FAQs would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think to go to the question about differences and, there can be a general Q&A in terms of question, what standards do you apply? Does Hardwick Electric have its own standards? No, we use the state standards that apply to all utilities in the state.
Mike already
those are
does have-
available at,
well, no, Mike already has them on the website. So when Mike informed me about it, I went on the website and there it is.
Yes, except for one important thing. Brian requires a blade disconnect rather than a button.
Yeah, because we have to be able to, that's a switching and tagging rule for the utility industry. We have to be able to see the opening of the connection. So for example, in a substation, if we open a breaker in our switching order, we also have to open the disconnects on it so that we see a visual opening.
Sure. Oh yeah, and I'm not arguing. I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea at all. I'm just saying it's more standard for the big red disconnect button with the easy manual reset to be used than not. Or it just required some additional relay installation to make it work. And the other difference is that none of the municipal utilities provide the peak shaving battery discharge incentive, which is I talked to several people at this is a few months ago at the Better Buildings Initiative from GMP, and without exception, they say it's one of their best programs for reducing peak load costs, and for a number of different reasons. They don't have to upgrade a service in an area because they can discharge from that area, virtual power plants, and other things. So I'm just saying that is a substantial difference between GMP.
As you know, none of the munis, we're not
We're not
GMP.
capable. Yeah, we're not capable.
Well, that's not, that's, I can make a
Vince,
substantial
if
case
you
for
want to,
that.
you know,
But you're saying we're not GMP and we're not capable, and I'm responding to that, saying that I could make a substantial case for it. And I think Hardwick Electric and its ratepayers would benefit
okay, right now,
substantially.
if we're discussing an item that isn't on the
Okay,
agenda. We've
yep,
got a
you're
lot
right.
to do tonight, so, and the next item agenda is a distribution wheeling tariff. Vince, that I believe there was nothing in the report, but there's an item. on the
Yeah,
agenda.
I just, I got it to you late, Mike, but basically, Mike made the good point when I asked about getting that contract. He said that we strategically delayed implementation of the contract or creating it or starting the contract until after the rate case test year. And so my one question was, what was the last day of the rate case test year, which the next day could be the beginning of the contract. I mean,
What contract are you talking about, Vince? Are you talking about a tariff?
I'm talking, yeah, tariff.
Okay, that's not a contract. That's
whatever it is, it'll be cash inflow to Hardwick Electric. Okay, we can talk about specifically what it is, but my point is that Mike Farman, and I'm not, there's no criticism of him, but I see a capacity issue at VEPSA perhaps, and wanted to know how long from that first day after the rate case test year until now, how many days that had been, and what the unrecoupable income would have been for that period, and what the annual income would be for that, from the wheeling charge for that project. Because from our calculations, I remember from a few meetings ago, it was a substantial amount of money that would help contribute to the cash flow issue. With
what project are you, what specific, first of all, if we have a distribution wheeling tariff, we have to charge it to everybody. We can't, it's a tariff, it's not a contract.
Okay, well, this is
and I think we have other rate case issues that I think we will be discussing when we get to the general manager's report. And I would venture to guess that that's probably more, but what specifically are you asking for? Are you asking for an analysis of the revenue that we would have collected had we had a distribution wheeling tariff of a specific amount?
What I was asking for was the status, how long it would take, the amount that Hardwick Electric would make for what would maybe a PUC approved tariff that would be comparable to other ones. What you just said, that was something I hadn't thought about, that it would have to be applied, across the distribution utility. But in any case, and figuring out how much money Hardwick Electric would make, because from our back of the napkin calculations, when we first heard about this at the meeting, it was like $60,000 or $70,000 a year, which is substantial. And that may be completely incorrect, but those are off the cuff calculations, and we're talking about cash flow issues, and it just seemed like if Mike can't do it in a certain amount of time, then the main driver was that we find another vendor that could do it as soon as possible. If it would end up making Hardwick. You look so confused, Lynn. I mean,
what vendor? Well, I don't know what vendor you're talking about.
I'm not talking about any vendor in particular. I'm talking from a business perspective. If somebody
a vendor doing what, Vince?
Creating the tariff so that
we decided that wasn't the issue. We did not want to be going in for the tariff at the same time that we were doing a rate case. That's my recollection. It was a strategic decision. And
okay,
and that's
okay,
why,
so,
and that's Vince, and that's why I said that we are, based on what was in the general manager's report, I believe that we will be discussing issues related to the possibility of another rate case. And that involves a lot more money than $60,000 or $70,000 a
Well,
year.
if I'm getting paid $100,000, that doesn't mean that I don't want 20,000 more. I mean, that we're talking about a potential source of income. I mean, I don't
Are
understand.
you asking the board to take a particular action at this time?
No, I wanted to discuss it because it's been essentially been on hold for a while. And, you know, this has been kind of in abeyance. And I know I've asked Mike, and this is not, and I know Mike has indicated that it's
It's Steve
Mike
Farnham.
Farman's next in line project after the rate case. So, I mean, that indicates a few things to me: that it is a project, that it is important, and that it's been delayed because of what he's doing right now. And if it's important enough, that, you know, you find somebody else to do it. That's what I'm proposing.
But Lynn, didn't we decide, I mean, we decided for good reason to delay doing it, didn't we?
That was
It
my
wasn't, it wasn't a
recollection.
bandwidth, it wasn't a capability
Yeah.
or band.
It was a test year. That's
No,
why
We delayed it because we didn't want it to convolute the rate case.
right, and it wouldn't come up in the rate case because it wouldn't be part of the test year. So that's why I was saying the day after the test year, that's when the charges could, you know, a tariff or whatever, a contract tariff, it could be implemented and provide the additional income.
It's not a contract. It is
That's really not the point, Lynn.
No, the point
yeah.
is it is a tariff that would need to be filed with the commission, which sets up a whole rate proceeding.
Okay,
And
So-
that is a costly endeavor and a strategic decision, and we decided not to do it at this time. And that was when we had gone in for a 13% rate increase and we got less than half of it.
okay, so it's for cost reasons, because I mean, I don't remember that. That may be the case.
No, it was not for, it
Well,
was
you
for
just said it was for
strategic
cost.
reasons. It was so that we didn't, as Mike said, convolute. So we didn't bring in issues related to this tariff when we were trying to get a more general rate relief.
So how long does the tariff for the wheeling take as opposed to the rate increase? Is that a 1
I don't
month or 2 month? Do we know?
So
And-
to have Steve get on it here in the next, soon as he closes out our rate case. So sometime in the next few weeks, he could start tackling it. He gave me, he sent me a bunch of stuff late this afternoon, Vince, after you sent the email last week. I reached out to him and he sent a pile of paperwork. Most of the structure of the tariff is already complete. He's done all the work. He just needs to change names from Swanton Village Electric to Hardwick Electric, change some of the numbers to accommodate our calculations. So the big lift of the work is done if we
Right.
allow Steve to do it. To try and have somebody else do it, they would have to have FERC experience. They would have to have Vermont PUC experience. They would have to have a relationship with the DPS to get their buy-in. And you still have to do the whole tariff filing. So I don't know who you would hire that would do better than.
Well, forget about hiring somebody else.
Yeah,
Is
I'm
it
not,
something you
that
could
is,
do
yeah.
between now and the next rate increase?
Yeah,
Request-
Steve said that he'll jump on it as soon as our rate increase closes, which should be
And-
sometime in the next few weeks.
And so how would the PUC, I can't see if the PUC is being logical. They're not related. Well, they could be related in that.
They're very related because that would change our whole equation, Vince. If we said, oh, and by the way, we came in for a 13% increase, but we're putting in for this wheeling tariff over here too, that's going to change that whole number. That's why we didn't
And
do
it
it.
would affect what we go in for
Right.
as another rate increase,
Right.
If we go in for another rate increase.
if we were to go in for another rate
Yes.
increase. That's right.
And that automatic rate increase that we can do without approval, how long do we have to wait to do that? Is it
A year. A year from
How-
when this one closes. So if at best June of next year,
And how much can that be as a max? Was it 2%?
2%.
2 per year.
No, we gotta get more income.
Yep.
So yeah, this is all very informative too. You know, and I wasn't saying to find someone else. You're giving me totally new information about the fact that Steve has a
Well, you
substantial.
did suggest that we get somebody else.
Oh, I suggested that
Yeah.
you didn't tell me that he had a substantially.
We don't need to argue about this.
I know.
My suggestion would be that at the next meeting, we have an agenda item on this. We can have whatever the information is from Steve. Sorry, I just have a mosquito in the house. And we can also see how that would affect if we need to go in for another rate increase.
Yep.
How that plays in, and this would be before the PUC, not before FERC, because it's distribution, or it goes to FERC because it's wheeling.
It's wheeling, so FERC is a component of this process, yes.
Well, either FERC has jurisdiction or the PUC has we can find that question. We don't
Yeah,
have to go into that now.
I know, all I'm saying is I know that some of the documents that Steve provided me there late Friday, there was some FERC stuff in there. I didn't look at it with a fine tooth comb.
Okay. The next item on the agenda then is the general manager's report. Any questions or comments?
I just had a question about the Swenson project. So he'd be paying for that, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, the projects, Mike, are a positive for us. It's just a watch out in terms of our resources and our ability to procure equipment that might be
Right.
in short supply.
And
So,
some of,
and financing. I mean, we're gonna have to
yes.
finance.
Well, some of the, so for example, the Swenson Granite project, if that costs $1, I do have intentions and we do have needs to upgrade that circuit right now. So we would participate in some of those costs. They would pay the vast majority. They would pay everything from Woodbury Village to the quarry. But getting from Hardwick to Woodbury, we would have to pay some of those costs, probably a quarter of it. So somewhere in there. Right now, my plan is it's a V-phase system. So it has 2 phases going down there and a neutral. I want to make it a full 4-wire grounded Y system. So we need to add 1 conductor onto the existing poles, balance the loads, and we'd be good to go for another 20 years if it wasn't for this Swenson project. They're going to need bigger wire, bigger poles. You know, we're going to have to do a lot of work down through there to accommodate their needs.
Mike, when I was reading about these projects and seeing almost 2 megawatts of additional load across the street from each other.
Yeah.
You know, in a very small location. I mean, in addition to whatever needs to be upgraded there, what is that likely to do to load flows on our system? Is that going to cause, and how are we set to be
So my biggest concern,
figuring that out?
yeah, my biggest concern here is that when we go into a contingency configuration, so for whatever reason, Wolcott Hydro is out of service. We lost a bird gun on the transformer there and blew up a bushing. It's 6 weeks out. So we need to feed the whole system from Hardwick. Well, right now, the Hardwick substation, when we are peaking, we are overloading that transformer slightly. It does not hurt it. It's not a concern, but we're in excess of its max rating of 7 megawatts. So if we were peaking and these 2 customers were doing half capacity and we added another megawatt on there, that could lead to some trouble. So part of the system study, which I just got approval on today from the parties, the Yellow Barn, the town essentially, and Lamoille Valley Ford, they're going to share the costs of that study. And once that's done, which is probably 6 weeks out, I'll have a lot more data and answers to all these questions, because contingency configurations are one of the things the engineers will consider.
And the timing of the demand, I mean, this would be a substantial percentage of the total load,
Yep.
utility load. I mean, I can see this bumping up the monthly and annual peak by quite a bit with the wrong, I mean,
Yeah.
this is really perfect for incentives to reduce load at those periods.
These would be our largest customers.
Our largest, Lamoille Valley Ford, I think, will be the largest customer we'll have with this. I think that the Yellow Barn project is hugely overestimated. And for example, when we did the art center up in Greensboro, those people fought hard for a 750,000 watt service, which they paid for and upgraded the circuit to get there and everything. And they use about 100,000. So they're 7 times bigger than they need to be. I ran load calculations for watts per square feet on the Vermont Food Venture building, which is primarily storage for Jasper Cellars, which is primarily what the Yellow Barn project is going to be storage for Jasper Cellars. And they are calling for 8 times the wattage per square foot in that building is what they use 2 doors down. So I think they're hugely overestimated. I think Lamoille Valley Ford is real, and those numbers are real, and they're significant. And we need to do a good load study.
I was just wondering also, and it goes to rate design, whether we need a different class of customers for some of these larger customers.
We should talk to Steve and Ken Nolan about that once we get the system study done.
Yeah.
Mike, do you know if Yellow Barn is all electric, or are they still using fossil fuel for heat?
I believe it's all heat pumps.
It is now?
It'll be electric, yeah.
I could see just a scenario where the full load comes on during the peaks. I mean, this is totally hypothetical, and then there's no use the rest of the time. So Hardwick Electric, it has this huge liability from that peak surge, while not providing any additional, customer sales. I mean, just without having some kind of incentives. Does that seem hypothetically logical to you, Mike?
I mean, I think it could happen where we got hammered on a peak, a month's peak, or even an annual peak, where we could be hurt for sure. So
it's going to raise everybody's rates.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, they're gonna pay for what they use, which covers our costs, but doesn't cover if they hit the monthly or annual peak and affect our overall annual numbers.
But could we do mandatory load shed on their charging stations?
We would have to have a tariff for that.
How long does that take?
Talk about a hot
That's-
potato.
Those are great options. For example, when I worked for Citizens, our biggest customer was a big paper mill over in Sheldon, Vermont. I think there were 14 megawatts, and we could call them OP15, it was called, and they had 15 minutes to shed 50% of their load. So they had to go from whatever megawatts down to 6 or 7.
Yeah,
And
but if somebody,
they got a huge rake off on their charges because of that.
right, but that's one thing if you've got a manufacturing process and you're asking them. It's another thing when you've got people bringing their
Yes.
cars over to charge them on a level 3 charger because they need some juice in their car.
Right.
If you cut it off, you're going to have some very unhappy customers.
Yeah.
But you could have time of day rates. I mean, you could have a time of day rate with a demand charge and a hefty,
Yeah.
charge, so that at least they bear the cost. But
And those peaks are somewhat predictable enough to have, information about the charging and about the best times to charge, for example, and that they may not be in service a certain period. I'm just thinking of possibilities.
That reminds me, Mike, when we put in the next couple of weeks, the charger behind electric car charger behind our building, how will people pay for that? And what will we be charging?
Yeah. So most of that project was completed today.
Good.
And it has a cashless payment system where the customer who wants to use the charger can just swipe a Visa or a MasterCard, or there are cellular token applications where they can buy tokens wherever and use them in the machine to pay for their energy needs. We can set the pricing in the machine however we want. Right now it's set for $2 an hour. That's the default, but we can change it to whatever we want.
So what are the going prices and what are they charging Danville at Marty's? Do you know?
No idea. I think that Stowe is like $3 an hour for the first hour, and then they go up after that. I know a lot of people complain that their prices are the highest. I don't know that that's true or not. So I just arbitrarily said $2 for now, and we'll figure that out as we get this thing going.
Can we vary the pricing by time
Yep.
of day and day of the week
Yep.
kind of thing?
Yep. Very flexible. Yeah, there's a whole software system. It's plug and play. It's really simple.
So how many watts, like, how many watts is that?
It can do 2 level 2 charges at the same time. So 2 cars can use it at the same time.
Okay, and what's the, like, what is the wattage at max?
7.2 kW per vehicle charging.
Okay, and so that's $1.20 an hour at 17 cents, for example. And I don't know what the rate is. What's the, so
It's defaulted right now at $2 for the first hour, but we can change
Okay.
it to whatever.
so yeah, so there's a little bit of margin there.
Well, I mean, you got to pay for the device and the labor.
Right,
to
that's
put
what I
it in
mean.
and all
That's
that.
good.
Yeah.
If I was charging my car for more than an hour, I'd have a nervous breakdown. Give me a gas engine.
Me too. Hydrogen. I think hydrogen's going to take over before EVs do.
Yeah, it's coming.
Well, so the information on what happens with a 5.57% increase, which is less than half of what we had asked for. And if I've read the financials correctly, as of the end of April, I'm guessing we had no cash. We had no cash. So were we borrowing, or were we
We haven't borrowed. We haven't tapped into the line of credit yet. And if you look at the bottom there, the chart that Beth provided, the flow of money because of the 13% that we have in place right now increase has been floating us, which was a strategy Roger actually suggested we might want to think about, holding payments and letting the cash float us that's in the bank. But yeah, this is going to come to a screeching halt when we have to pay back the 13.03 minus the 5.57.
okay?
What
Well,
is
I
that?
guess I'm even looking. I'm on page 22, and the chart there. That's the chart you're talking about, right?
My handout isn't numbered, but I'm at the bottom of the key indicator summary.
Okay, before we even get to that, I'm looking in the manager's report.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. And it's showing at the end of April, minus $16,000
Yep.
for cash on hand.
Yep. So if Beth accounts for everything, that's where we're at. But she knows, oh, okay, this $10,000 bill isn't actually going out yet, but I need to account for it. That lands us down in there. So she can.
Okay, so this is not a cash, this is not a cash basis, it's on an accrual basis?
Yes.
That's not really very helpful for.
Well, but I
mean,
discussed
both are.
it. I discussed it with Beth, and I understand what she's doing. What the point she made is that, sure, and I have a company that actually got itself in trouble doing what I think we might be considering, and that is they started slow paying their vendors. And so it looked like we're okay on cash, and they slow paid them and they slow paid them. We got so far beyond terms
Yeah.
that that's in effect. Now you've got this additional liability to all your vendors to get them back caught up. And we don't want her to do that,
Absolutely not.
right?
Yeah.
Because that's sort of taking on a liability.
Yep.
You're gonna bite us in the
Right,
butt.
right, and
So-
that's why you
Yeah,
do it.
so
on
what
a
she's
basis.
doing, what she was really doing there is very, very modest, one day to the next, couple days. Looking at the inflows and outflows. Nothing systematic, Mike. It's been a while since we talked about it,
Yep. That's my understanding. You can.
and that's really important because otherwise, yeah, you dig into a big hole.
But why do the numbers differ now when I go to the key indicators? It shows a hole of 8,400 rather than almost twice that.
The charts are not from the same date. She's been looking at it every few days, so one was probably a different date.
Well, the funds received and the funds dispersed are the same.
Yeah, I'm
There's
not
more
sure.
cash
Lynn.
on hand. I just was confused by that. And then I look at the day, so the daily balance is the cash amount on the key indicators?
In the bank, yep.
Okay. But if we take all the bills that are outstanding
And that we know are coming.
and that we know are coming, then that 300,000 goes negative.
Yes.
Okay, now, so my next question is I understand the direction of what happens when we refund, but I don't know the magnitude. If that was in here, I apologize, but I didn't see it.
It's not. We haven't figured that out yet.
I think that's an immediate, urgent calculation.
Yeah,
I think Beth has done it, but I don't
Okay.
have it.
Would you is it reasonable, Lynn, to ask for just Mike and Beth to follow up as soon as they have it with an email to us?
absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Absolutely. I mean, that was that was my question in the margin is where are we going to be at
Yeah.
afterwards?
Because we just don't want to go too deeply into the line of credit,
I mean, because all of this looks to me like we need to be starting up another rate case.
Yeah.
And if there is anything that we can be that is a capital expenditure, we should be looking at borrowing.
I think, Mike, you've taken that as policy. Do we need to formalize it?
I thought that was the agreed to direction going forward a couple meetings
Yeah.
ago.
Good, yeah.
And I think we need to sort out once and for all what the parameters. Ezra, please be quiet. Really, I need you to be quiet right now. Sorry. What?
My dog's getting riled up now listening to Ezra.
He's gonna have to pay more for electricity.
No, it's Ezra. but you
I'm
don't-
sorry, my train of thought just,
Well, I think what you were gonna say, Lynn, is that all these capital expenditures my intention is to bring all these capital expenditures to you anyway.
that wasn't what I was gonna say.
Okay.
That wasn't my question. I think there is this outstanding issue of when we need to go to the town, when or if we need to go to the town, to the select board, and when or if we need to go to the voters of the town. I'm not prejudging it, but I think we really need something definitive on that. Because
we're gonna be doing a lot of borrowing, yeah.
because we're going to be borrowing.
Yep.
And I think we need to be exploring relationships with more than one bank. I mean, maybe we've got the best deal, but I don't know that. And I think we need to
Yeah,
Oh.
actually, Ken Nolan suggested a couple of other banks that VEPSA uses for their line of credit and kind of interesting financial processes that VEPSA uses, and that said that these two banks, Key Bank and Community National Bank, are both really open to helping in our
And
kind of a
community is
situation.
in Hardwick.
And my
Yeah.
suggestion would be that we don't use the line of credit for capital projects. We use it for operating losses.
Yeah.
Only.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is that, my question about that, the PUC's, preference that Hardwick Electric engage in more, get more debt, spread out the load, that would be more addressed towards capital projects though. I mean, isn't that what
Yep.
their intention was?
Yep.
That's that, and we discussed that quite a bit. Yeah, no, it's more than a preference.
Did we make our payment in lieu of taxes to the town yet?
Yep, we paid it.
Remember how much
Well,
that was?
and there, we don't have this as an agenda item, but we have a request from the select board. And I apologize. I thought, Mike, we were going to have that on the agenda, and then I didn't notice it wasn't there until Mike just asked about the.
What was the request?
No, well, they didn't budget. The town didn't budgeted for what they had originally charged us, and so they're short money. Because we reached a different agreement.
So how much did we pay? Do you
Right,
remember?
but
offhand?
I didn't see that the select board requested anything. I just saw that Eric was inquiring with you.
He was inquiring, but I think we
But
need
it
to be.
wasn't a select board
It
request.
wasn't a full. It wasn't. You're right. It was Eric was inquiring whether we could help out the town.
So Hardwick Electric could borrow money and lend it to the town at a higher rate, and everybody comes out. I'm kidding.
Well, I was thinking
I
it's the
didn't-
opposite. The town, when I was at the town meeting months ago, had a $1 million exit surplus.
Yeah,
Is it
that's what I
possible
thought.
short term to borrow money from the town
Mhm.
and then just pay it back to get us
But
to a hard month?
they've dealt with that in the budget. The town budget was approved at the town meeting, and so they have to work within that budget, and they hadn't thought about that when they agreed with us to charge us what everybody else charges us.
But why
And
would
so-
we want to pay more than anybody else would charge us?
We don't, but I did say I would bring it to the full commission. And I don't think we need a motion on it. It hasn't been a formal request, but I think we do need to get back to Eric and say, I mean,
Give
my
it back.
thought is we don't have the money. Even
Right.
if we wanted
Give
to
it
help,
back.
Right.
That's what we want to say.
we're not in a position where we can, and we can't be in a position when we go in for another rate increase of having helped out the town at the expense of ratepayers.
Right.
That's my thought. But
Yeah, I thought after my email, it kind of was gone. But apparently not.
after I don't think I saw your did I see your email, Mike?
Yeah,
I
I
didn't-
responded to it, to you and Eric.
Okay, well, somehow I missed that, but
I can resend it.
So just one, don't mean to change the subject, but it wasn't clear to me, the cash on hand ending April 23rd. Okay, that's all liabilities. But is that also open invoices, or does that not include?
I'm not positive, Vince. That's a Beth question.
Okay, because that would change it substantially if it
Yep.
was, basically the balance sheet.
And I don't know if you all know, but Beth is at SEDC annual training event this week. That's why she's not with us.
It sounds like fun.
Well, this is kind of a key year for the training because we're gonna start transitioning over to the new Meridian system next year, so. Whatever tricks and cheats she can get out of this training, the better for us.
Absolutely. While that discussion was going on, I looked, Mike, I don't have an email. I have the email that you sent to Roger so that he would be prepared if it came up when he was speaking at the select board. I don't have a response to Eric.
Okay, I'll take a look.
And Eric had said, just asked if you could bring it up at your next meeting, that would be great. So that's, so I think we do need to get back to him. Even if it's an answer that isn't what he wanted to, would have
And
liked
would that be a one-time accommodation because it was in the budget and then it would revert to the, what it was previously? I don't, or is that like setting a precedent for, double the lieu of tax payment?
What are you asking? Are you suggesting that we accommodate the town?
No. I'm just saying, no, not at all. I'm just saying if we ended up doing it, what the implications might be.
But I didn't think we were doing it.
No, okay. So it's moot. Never mind.
Right.
It's a scenario.
I hear you though, Vince, because then what about next year? Well, you paid this last year, you should pay it again this year, right?
Right.
Okay. So Mike, in terms of so we haven't gotten a final order then from the PUC?
Correct. Everything's gone in, the department has responded. And I would guess we'll get it. We might even get the final order next week, I would say.
I mean, on a certain level, the sooner the better, because
yes, I agree.
But we can't start refunding until we get the order.
Right.
Is that correct? Yeah.
And I think they'll define the date, we have to start implementing the refund.
So
do we need to do the refund in one shot, or is it something that can be spread over?
No, one shot.
One shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be one shot. The first of the month will be that, that group of customers, and then the 15th of the month will be the second group of customers.
So are the new bills that are going out using the correct rate, or are we using the old increase?
We are still charging the 1303.
Should we not be doing that?
We can't change until the board
That's
tells
exactly
us.
what my question was.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
We
Yeah.
can't.
Can we set it? Well, wouldn't really matter.
Okay. Anything else on the general manager's report? Okay. Anything on the financial statements? Okay, then I would like to move that we go into executive session to speak with counsel in connection with a litigation matter, the premature disclosure of which might prejudice the interests of Hardwick Electric Department. Is there a second?
Second.
Fourth.
All those in favor? I think
Aye.
everybody seconded. Okay, so as soon as the recording goes off, it is 6:36 p.m. and we are going into executive session. It is 7:24 p.m. and we are out of executive session. Does someone want to make a motion, or shall I just go ahead and do it?
You should do it with the great legal terms.
I move that based on the advice, we came out, no action, we were in executive session, no action was taken. I move that based on the advice of counsel and the VLCT, I move that the board ratify and consent to the proposed settlement of Richardson versus Town of Hardwick, and that the electric department's liability will not exceed its deductible under the passive insurance. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Did we want to say the amount or not? No? Okay, then I'm good. Then I'll third.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes.
And Mike, you should have an email from me
Yep,
by now.
I just got it.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Appreciate the work that you've done on this, and
Thank you, and thank you all.
So
You guys,
you guys let me know when, what first or third Thursday you want to connect with that board and the other board, and I'll get us lined up. And would you want one of my board members to participate, or are you done with them?
Should we be giving the board a heads up that this is coming?
I've been talking to Opie. He's been keeping.
Oh, okay, he's
Yeah.
aware. That's fine, that's fine.
I would defer to you, Mike, and the board as to how you think it's best to handle the board-to-board communication and discussion.
Okay, so how much time do we have before this is actually gonna have paperwork from you guys and the other side for you all to sign? I'm just wondering because the last select board meeting was just last week. So they won't have a meeting next week, but they would have one the week after, which is fine with me. But then it would be 2 further weeks from there for the next one.
Not this Thursday, but the next one.
Right,
And I think that's fine. I have draft
okay.
releases that I'll be circulating among council, and hopefully we get those kind of blessed shortly.
Then I'll email you guys when it is. And Lynn, do you want to participate?
If you think there needs to be someone,
I think it would be great.
then I guess I will.
Okay, so I'll get you in the loop too.
Having said that, hang on one second. When's their next meeting?
It would be, it's the 1st and 3rd of each month.
Yeah,
So
I
it'd
just
be
need
the
to check,
6th.
because I have a board meeting on Thursdays that that I don't have on my calendar yet for July, but I think it's, oh, I do have it on my calendar. It's the 13th. Is that when the next?
No, it'll be the 6th. Will be the
Be the
next
6th,
select
then
board meeting.
that's not a problem for me.
Okay, I'll get us set up for that. Be glad to get this over with and behind us.
Good.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
thank you.
Thanks very
Thank
much.
you. Appreciate all the
Good
time.
night.
Bye.
Okay. Michael, do you have a motion?
I'd like to go into executive session to talk about an employee
Matter, okay.
matter, yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any opposition? Hearing none, it is 7:29, and as soon as the recording is off, we will be in executive session.
Okay, so this continued employee matter is about me.
Yeah,
So am I leaving?
It's a good question.
sure. Makes it easy.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna shut off the recording and I'm gonna leave. And Lynn, if you just tell me what time you guys came out, so I can
Okay,
put it.
we all need to remember that because I could forget.
Okay, I'm gonna.
You have to
pause
make,
the- I'm
you have
gonna
to make
pause-
Lynn the host before you go.
I can make Lynn the boss here, yeah.
Make Lynn the host first.
Because I'm so technically savvy.
Well,
Says I'm the host,
There
okay.
you go. Okay, I'm pausing the recording and I'm signing off.
Yeah, go back to the beach.
Okay, thank
So
you.
I may be able to reinstitute the recording, possibly.
Might, I don't know.
We'll see.
Okay.